Hi, this is Nanette Hosenfeld with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Monday, July 3rd, 2017. Taking a look at fire potential impacts over the next few days, the main concern is for some lightning, some thunderstorms that will bring lightning to the area Wednesday through Friday, and this will be a mix of wet and dry lightning. So on Wednesday, we're looking at those storms initially developing across western, southwestern Nevada, and then as we move into Thursday and Friday, those storms will shift a little to the north and east. Looking at the past 24 hours, there has been very little in the way of precipitation across the Great Basin. Just a few light areas of precipitation across eastern Utah. However, there was a fair amount of lightning yesterday. You can see some of these strikes on the map here across the higher terrain of central and northeastern Utah. There's been light to moderate activity lately. There are 30 new fires with 153 ongoing fires and one team fire in the Great Basin. Looking at precipitation over the past 30 days, it really has been a dry month. This image here on the left shows observed precipitation, and really only portions of northern Nevada and northern Utah have seen any significant precipitation. The rest of the Great Basin has been very dry. This image here on the right shows how that precipitation compares to normal, and really the only area in the Great Basin that has seen at least normal or above precipitation is north central Nevada. The rest of the area has you can see is far below normal. With those dry conditions and the hot weather we've seen, our ERCs are on the rise. Quite a few stations across the southern part of our area are above the 90th percentile, and we even have some above the 97th percentile. So, that hot and dry weather has really taken a toll on the fuels. Live fuel moisture is dropping as well. All three of these stations are showing that declining trend, and it's only our station in southwestern Idaho, this 3-island station, that is still above normal. These other two stations on the map are below normal, and they're quite representative of the area. As you move further south into the Great Basin, live fuel moisture is below normal. Satellite this morning shows high pressure overhead. Some clouds across portions of north central Utah this morning with some moisture, some lingering moisture in place. So looking at the upper level pattern for today, you can see some moisture in place across the northern part of the Great Basin, drier across the south, and we have high pressure across the area, which leads to some lighter winds, and we'll talk about that in more detail in a moment. Our significant fire potential ranges from low to moderate risk across the Great Basin, with the greatest risk across the south, where we have seen the hottest and driest conditions. So taking a look at today's weather in a little more detail, it'll be pretty dry across the area. These relative humidities on the right are generally below 15% across the southern part of the Great Basin. There is a potential for some showers and thunderstorms across the Una Mountains and other portions of the higher terrain of central Utah, as well as a tiny sliver of northeastern Nevada, where there is some lingering moisture that could lead to those thunderstorms. Now, with dry conditions at the surface, we will see some really gusty winds with any thunderstorms that do form. So if any storms form in your area, be prepared for some really strong gusty winds with those storms. As we move into Tuesday, we keep some of that moisture in place across the northern part of the Great Basin. We continue to remain under the influence of that high pressure ridge, and so we will see another day of really dry, really low relative humidities, especially across the southern part of the Great Basin, where we'll see many areas with single-digit relative humidities on Tuesday afternoon. Again, with some of that lingering moisture under the ridge, there is a potential for some showers and thunderstorms to develop across the higher terrain of north central Utah, as well as central Idaho, where those mountains are. And again, it is quite dry near the surface, which means that if a thunderstorm forms, you will get some really gusty winds with those storms. As we move into Wednesday, moisture begins to creep into the western part of the Great Basin. Some of that monsoonal moisture is starting to rotate around the high pressure system, and Wednesday is when we start to really become concerned about the potential for a lightning threat. On Wednesday, initially, that threat is across western Nevada. You can see that risk highlighted on the map here, and some of these thunderstorms will be dry, as it still is pretty dry close to the surface as these storms move in on Wednesday. Again, here is the map, the weather map, where we're expecting to see those thunderstorms, and you can see this highlighted area across western Nevada, and again across the central southern Utah mountains with that moisture in place. Though we will see thunderstorms, those relative humidities still remain quite low, as you can see across the Great Basin. So over the next 3 days, although we are expecting some scattered storms in places, really not much in the way of precipitation. So these storms will be mostly dry. As we move into Thursday, that moisture continues to rotate through the area, rotate around that high pressure system. And you can see an expanded area where there is concern for that lightning on Thursday. It stretches up into southwestern Idaho and all along central and southern Nevada, with that moisture in place on Thursday. And again, it will be a mix of wet and dry storms, so there is concern for the potential for new fire starts with this lightning. And again, we could see some pretty gusty winds with those storms on Thursday. As we move into Friday, that threat shifts a little to the south and east, and looks like it encompasses southwestern central Utah and further south into Nevada on Friday. On Saturday, some of that moisture still remains in place across the Great Basin, and so expect another day of storm development across the area, particularly across about the eastern 2/3 of the Great Basin where there's the most moisture in place. There's more uncertainty as we move into the weekend as far as how wet or dry these storms will be, so we're not yet highlighting any areas of concern yet as we wait to see where the highest likelihood of those dry storms will be on Saturday. And finally, on Sunday, we start to get some drier air pushing into Nevada, though we will keep that moisture across much of Utah, southeastern Idaho, southern Nevada, and the Arizona Strip. So thunderstorms, it's looking now, will develop again on Sunday afternoon across the Great Basin. But again, 6 days out, it's hard to say exactly where the greatest threat from those storms will be. The 7-day precipitation accumulation totals are not too impressive. Though there is moisture in the forecast, we are expecting thunderstorms. Really not a lot of precipitation with those, and so not a lot of shaded areas across the Great Basin. Finally, looking at the 8 to 14-day outlook, the Climate Prediction Center is calling for above normal temperatures across the entire area, as well as above normal precipitation across the entire Great Basin. So it does look like as we move into the second week of July, we will start to see that monsoonal moisture make its way across the Great Basin, and we will see what happens with that. So that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Our information is on the screen, and you can also find us on Twitter. Thanks.